We're nearing the end of our jaunt through Generation 2 of Pokémon today, and while I felt fatigue at the end of the first gen, a deathless performance in Pokémon Silver has me flying high. Let's see if we can keep that up. Pokémon Crystal, like Yellow was to Red and Blue, is nearly identical to Gold and Silver in terms of progression, but has some encounter changes. For example, you can't catch Mareep, so it's automatically worse. On the other hand, the Suicune stuff is a fun addition, and the sprites are animated now, so I guess it balances out. Starter time. We naturally select Odairu the Totodile and get going. Egg Index acquired, Rival stomped, and the run is on. On Route 29, we find our first new friend, Walker the Sentret. We head to Route 46 and catch our 6th Rattata, this time dubbed Squeak. You'll be banned eventually, Rattata, don't worry. Route 30 blesses us with Mona the Caterpie. Bet you weren't expecting a name besides Butters. Eh? Like clockwork, the new additions train, and we move on to Route 31 where we find and catch Star the Ledyba. This was exactly why I started Crystal in the morning. Ledyba and Ledian are even less viable Pokemon than Hoothoot and Noctowl are, but I like them, so I'm going to see them through to the end no matter what. In the Dark Cave, we end up catching Morb the Zubat. I really wanted a Geodude here so I could turn my brain off and beat Falkner, but the game said it's Morbin time, so it's Morbin time. As training continues, Mona evolves into Metapod, and the team is eventually ready to take Falkner on. Without Geodude, our approach will have to be a little different this time. Brute Force, without PP stalling. Squeak takes on Pidgey to start. Leer and Tackle drop Pidgey to half, and I pivot into Odairu. I want to use Rage while Pidgey is up to start building its power up for Pidgeotto. In what can only be considered cosmic misfortune, we are speed-tied. Pidgey lands Tackle on the switch-in, and then wins the first tie, hitting me again before I can use Rage. I then win the second tie right after, and get the KO without actually building Rage's power. Don't you love it when a plan falls apart before your eyes? Pidgeotto comes out, and starts using Gust, building our power up. After 2 trades, Odairu eats his berry, and our 3rd Rage soundly ends the battle. I guess the stacks I could have gotten from the Pidgey would have only saved us 1 turn, but I'm still salty my plan didn't go exactly as intended. I grab the Togepi egg and box it straight away this time, then head to Route 32 and catch Turnip the Hoppip, who immediately joins the team in Mona's place. Turnip gets up to speed, and we climb the Sprout Tower. Without some form of super effective coverage, the climb is slow but steady. Star learns Flash and we head back to Route 32 and then the Union Cave. Here, we find and catch Daquan the Geodude, who takes Squeak's place and quickly trains to catch up. The remainder of the cave is light work, and we make it to Azalea before long. Team Rocket's Slowpoke Tail shenanigans are quickly dealt with, and Walker evolves into Furret before we're ready to challenge Bugsy. With Daquan on the team, this badge is too easy to earn. Instead of letting Daquan solo, Walker leads against Metapod and is able to secure a KO. Kakuna falls in similar fashion. I finally pivot into Daquan when Scyther is sent out, and Rock throws an Oko, netting us our 2nd badge. Silver follows Bugsy up for a battle. Daquan hits Magnitude 9 to Oko Ghastly and Bayleaf is sent out. Turnip answers the call and lands Poison Powder. Might as well abuse this while we can, since Gen 6 throws the grass type of bone and makes him immune to powder moves. Tackle, Poison Chip damage, and Synthesis to stay healthy lead to Bayleaf's downfall. Odairu's the move to deal with Zubat, but Supersonic halts our progress. Walker comes in and finishes Zubat off. We quickly wrangle Farfetch'd and Walker is taught our prize cut before we move on through Ilex Forest and enter Route 34. Heading to the TM shop once we reach Goldenrod City is straight up mandatory with how awful our coverage will be, so we get that done and teach Odairu Ice Punch. I'll save the others for when they're absolutely necessary. Daquan and Odairu then blitz the gym trainers before the remainder of the team joins in on training. This level cap is a sweet spot for the team in terms of evolving, as Star, Odairu, and Turnip all evolve before we challenge Whitney. Odairu opens against Clefairy. Ice Punch hits twice and freezes, and we dodge a fissure. What an insane metronome pull. Clefairy is downed and we are still full health, so I decide to stay in and stack up Leer on Miltank. It goes well until rollout number 3 crits for 43 damage and kills Odairu. Are you shitting me? Our first starter death and it comes from something as unfortunate as that? Man. Daquan comes out for revenge, and Magnitude 6 and 8 pack Miltank up. Why are you crying, Whitney? It should be me, weeping over my baby boy. Hopefully, this is the only time we lose a starter. That type of loss just hits different. Squeak temporarily rejoins in Odira's place, and we head back into the Ilex forest, catching Peking the Psyduck. Psyduck only appears in the forest as a nighttime grass encounter in Crystal. I guess you're meant to be the water type that takes us all the way this time, Peking. Peking trains hard to catch up, and we move on. For no reason other than to be annoying, you have to head through to Route 36 and investigate the Sudowoodo tree before going back and getting the squirt bottle. I don't even try to catch it because of how unnecessary that change was. With that out of the way, we enter Ekritique. The Kimono Girls deliver us some nice XP gains, and we get Surf, taught to Peking, before heading into the Burn Tower. Visiting the monument to progress is mandatory now, as Suicune is chilling in the basement, and Morty can't be challenged until you wake it up. We go here to kick Silver's butt anyway. I'm not sure how it's my fault that he can't find a legendary, but it is what it is. Daquan takes Haunter out with Magnitude 8 after being cursed. Turnip repeats the play to take on Bayleaf. It takes just as long, this time slowed down by Bayleaf's Reflect, and Magnemite is sent out next. Daquan eventually secures this KO, and Walker quickly attacks Zubat for the win. A magic hole opens up beneath us immediately after to reach the basement and awaken the three beasts, Entei, Raikou, and Suicune. To this day, I have no idea why a convenient hole is the way they chose to get us to this level when the gold and silver version of the tower already had holes in the ground, signifying, I don't know, that the place was burned down? Anyway, the gym is fair game now, so the team resumes their grind. Morb evolves into Golbat, and Daquan evolves into Graveler too shortly after. Contrary to what one would expect, I don't immediately bust out the link cable and instead challenge Morty. Morb is our opener and Bite is an OHKO on Ghastly. Bite then 2-hit KOs Haunter, dodging Hypnosis, and Gengar is sent out. It's Morbin time. Confuse Ray connects, and Gengar hits itself twice before Bite connects for big damage. Gengar breaks through and lands Hypnosis, so I pivot into Daquan. It is no longer Morbin time. Gengar hits itself for the third time, and I switch back into Morb to avoid an obvious Hypnosis. I start to pivot around to hopefully dodge Hypnosis and get the KO. Daquan is eventually able to do so and KOs with Magnitude. Morty's final Haunter does some damage with Nightshade and is felled by Magnitude. Now it's link cable time, and Daquan evolves into Golem. Mahogany Town is our next destination, and subsequently the Lake of Rage. Shiny Gyarados is caught this time, and Lance enlists our aid with Team Rocket. The grunts, as per the usual, are absolute fodder, so the team makes steady gains as we reach the executives. Exec number 1 is mollywopped by Daquan, and Exec number 2 gets morbed until Gloom puts him to sleep and Star finishes things off. Daquan defeats the Electrode and the journey continues. Walker takes charge in our defeat of the Mahogany Gym Trainers before we head west to Olivine and climb the lighthouse. Turnip evolves into Jumpluff along the way, and we get our quest from Jasmine, landing us in Cianwood City. Defensively, we're fine with Morb, Star, and even Turnip, but offensively, the best we have to hit these fighting types is Peking's Confusion, so we once again find ourselves in a bit of a tough spot. Star steps up to the plate, and thanks to the power of screens and Headbutt, is able to solo the Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. Maybe we aren't in as much trouble as I thought. The rest of the trainers are dealt with, and training continues in the form of a battle with Eugene, the Suicune enthusiast. Morb's Bite is a 2-hit KO on Drowsy and Haunter, and Daquan handles Electrode. Training is wrapped up and Chuck is challenged. Morb takes the lead once again and insta-kills Primeape with Wing Attack. I start with Confuse Ray on Poliwrath, who breaks through and hits Surf. I pivot into Turnip and set up Leech Seed and then Poison Powder. Mind Reader into Dynamic Punch confuses Turnip, but I stay in and quickly break through to KO with Tackle. That was an insanely straightforward fight. Gotta love Stall, man. Only when I'm using it though. Time for Price's Ice to shatter. Walker's Thunder Punch takes Seal out in 2, and Dugong goes down to Shadow Ball and Thunder Punch. Peking Surf hits twice to KO Piloswine, who lands the Blizzard in between, to no avail. The team grinds ahead of our battle with Jasmine. Consider the need to grind a lesson permanently learned, which leads to Peking and Morb evolving into Golduck and Crobat. Daquan's Magnitude KOs Magnemite number 1, and Steelix is immediately sent out. I switch into Peking, who's deafened by Screech before getting an OHKO with Surf. Magnemite number 2 is sent out and defeated by Daquan, earning us our next badge. With Daquan on the team, it goes without saying that Team Rocket's invasion of Goldenrod's radio tower is on a rapidly ticking timer. The False Director's Coughing Squad is blown up, no self-destruct, and Silver's battle is up next, hopefully making for a more entertaining time. Peeking's first Ice Punch just misses out on a Golbat KO, and we start to take too much damage, so Morb comes in and finishes its kin. I switch into Daquan to Magnitude the Magnemite, and Morb makes his return to destroy Meganium with Wing Attack and Bite. Haunter goes down to Fly, and Walker cuts Sneasel to ribbons, ending the battle. Compared to the fake director, a much more engaging time, but still a cakewalk. And so are the remaining execs. The Fortress's Golbat is pelted with rocks, and Silver's mom is taken out by a combination of Peeking, Star, and Daquan. The interim leaders Houndour, Coughing, and Houndoom then all get swept by Peeking's Surf, ending that problem for the third time, and for a long time. I'll be dismantling you all again in Gen 4. The remaining routes leading to Blackthorn City and its gym trainers provide us our last grasp of XP before grinding and taking on Claire. With Ice Punch, Peeking takes on and one-shots Dragonairs 1, 2, and 3. I pivot into Turnip to handle Kingdra. First, Sleep Powder connects. Then, Leech Seed starts our chip. I then switch into Morb, who confuses Kingdra and nearly get one-shot by Surf. Wait a minute, that's not part of the script. I switch back into Turnip, use Poison Powder, and pivot into Daquan, baiting a Surf as Turnip comes back out and eats it up. Turnip's tackle alongside the chip damage takes Kingdra out, even with the Hyper Beam connecting. Instead of picking up a Dragon's Fang for Claire, she instead asks us to take a quiz and then hands over the badge. I have no idea how she fails this quiz. It's like she's dumb or something. Thankfully, this is the last time in a while that we deal with this. The gang heads through our first stretch of Kanto and make it to the end of Victory Road without incident to challenge Silver for the last time. The first matchup is Peeking vs Sneasel, handled with Surf and Waterfall. Daquan magnitudes the Magneton, and Meganium is morbed again, a bit slower this time because of Reflect. I let Walker's Shadow Ball take out Kadabra and use it again on Golbat, waiting for Future Sight to hit before switching to Daquan, who eventually KOs with Rock Throw. This flinch fusion stuff has got to stop. Walker is sent back out to Shadow Ball Haunter, and the battle is over. Our final Elite Four Gauntlet of Generation 2 is upon us. Let's see how we do. Starting with Will, Walker's Shadow Ball, Oko, Xatu, and then Jinx. Shadow Ball takes 2 hits to take out the defensive Executor, and we receive Leech Seed in the exchange. I pivot into Turnip to shed the seeds, and send some seeds of my own to Slowbro, who starts to set up Curse and then uses Psychic for middling damage. We miss Poison Powder and get hit with Psychic again. Mega Drain crits for massive damage, and Slowbro uses Amnesia before getting sapped by Leech Seed for the KO. Will's final Xatu is sent out, and I switch into Peeking, who is immediately confused, as expected. I switch into Walker and take Psychic well before using Shadow Ball and failing to Oko. Psychic connects again, and Will heals up. Thunder Punch connects twice after the futile heal and wins us the battle. For Koga, there's no answer other than Daquan. Rock Throw misses right out the gates, then Double Team causes another to miss. Giga Drain does about half, but I stay in like a maniac to finally hit and KO Ariados. Fortress delays the inevitable with Protect, blocking a misclicked Strength, and Fire Punch KOs right afterwards. Crobat comes out surprisingly early and is taken out by a combination of Rock Throw and Strength, using Wing Attack for pitiful damage in exchange. Muck gets Earthquaked and Venomoth is sent out. I switch into Morb, who takes the super effective Psychic pretty well, and KO with Fly right after. Some dangerous maneuvers in a battle that should have been a mindless affair, but a win is a win. Bruno's Hitmontop uses Quick Attack and is nearly one-shot by Hidden Power. Morb's Hidden Power is flying, funnily enough. Turnip Mega Drains Onix and puts Hitmonchan to sleep before I switch back into Morb and KO with Hidden Power. I use Fly and fail to Oko Machamp, but luckily managed to tank the Rock Slide. That was dangerously close. Bruno heals Machamp, but 2 Hidden Power end the ace. I switch into Star to spare Morb from a potential death. His movie flopping is punishment enough. Headbutt connects repeatedly to slowly but surely finish Hitmonlee off, opening the way up to Karen. Peeking lands Dynamic Punch on sight and then uses Surf, ignoring the Sand attack before Umbreon takes itself out in confusion. Vileplume paralyzes Morb and starts dancing before Hidden Power takes a chunk out of it. Despite the confusion, Moonlight heals in vain as Hidden Power finishes it off. I pivot into Walker to completely ignore Lick before KOing with a combo of Shadow Ball and Gengar using Curse. Daquan's Rock Throw then destroys Murkrow, and Houndoom goes down to Earthquake. The Quick Claw came in clutch there. I don't know if Crunch would have folded Daquan or not. Let's go, Lance. Walker's Thunder Punch is a 2-shot on Gyarados, who sets up Rain despite the paralysis. Dragonite number 1 fails Thunder Wave onto Quan, and then I switch into Star, who takes a Twister before using Light Screen, and then going down to a Hyper Beam. Damn. I was going to use Reflect next. This death, at least, means Peking is a clean switch-in, who KOs with 2 Ice Punches. Dragonite number 2 falls to just 1, and Dragonite number 3 uses Safeguard after just barely hanging on. A full restore is used, but 2 more Ice Punches defeat the ace. I switch into Daquan to tank Hyper Beams and throw rocks at Aerodactyl, and tank Flamethrower before one last Rock Throw ends this battle. This team was incredibly underpowered, but absolutely carried by Daquan and Peking. Hell, Walker put in a surprisingly strong performance with the abundance of moves it was able to learn. Even though it ultimately fell, Star's Light Screen was absolutely necessary to tank a potential outrage. I honestly loved this team, and even though we couldn't follow up Silver with another Deathless leg, I had a lot of fun. With a grand total of 2 deaths, the Sentret, Ledyba, Zubat, Hoppip, Geodude, and Psyduck lines are all banned. Now let's see how we fare against Kanto's best. We're down a member, but I think we've got this. Daquan's Earthquake is quick to KO Pikachu, and Espeon is sent out to use Reflect. The reduction in damage causes Earthquake to require 2 hits, with Daquan being dropped to half by Psychic. Venusaur isn't ready for Morb, who hits hard and Okos with a crit hidden power, so Red sends in his real ace, Snorlax. Confuse Rays the play, and Snorlax uses Amnesia. Reflect fades, so I use hidden power to gauge our damage output. It's not bad, but Snorlax snaps out of Confusion and hits us for similar damage with Body Slam. I reapply the Confusion and then switch into Turnip. Time for Stall. Body Slam connects and we use Leech Seed. Snorlax snaps out in no time again and Body Slam paralyzes us. I can't take another without being KO'd here, so I send a Quan out who takes Body Slam way better. Leech Seed and Earthquake finish the job. I send Walker out who trades with Blastoise. Blastoise sets up Rain Dance and its Surf hits for a ton. Thankfully Walker hangs on and Thunder Punch finishes it off. Peking finally gets a turn, and tanks Charizard's Flamethrower before returning fire with Surf and ending our time in Johto. Get ready for another graphical leap as we depart for Hoenn's Abundant Seas next in Pokémon Ruby.